Hey guys, this is Heather at Homeschool Culture. In today's video, we're going to talk everything morning basket for the month of September. I'm also going to tell you a few things that I did in August, just so in case that it's something that might spark interest for you. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. So what we do for morning basket thus far, we do a devotional, we do like a Bible study devotional, we do read aloud, nature study, geography, artist study, or really not artist, art study. We're looking at pictures depending on what country we're doing for geography. So I'm really relating our music study and our art study to geographically to those countries that we're studying that week. But it doesn't mean I necessarily do one every week. So I'll talk about that. And then I don't know if I said nature study, but I'm going to talk about that. I'm also going to give you some other nature topic ideas. Some of them that we've already done in the past. Sometimes some of them you might just want to do with maybe younger groups of kids, but they're still great to talk about. And then I'm going to also throw in there, even though it's not group subject, I'm going to throw in there what I am reading, just to kind of give you a little bit of what I'm doing on my alone time. So, okay, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I'm going to start with our devotional. So we are doing this family devotional based on shorter catechisms. It's Training Hearts, Teaching Minds by Star Mead, and it is wonderful. It was one of those that I got in a bundle from Master Books. I think it was like maybe Morning Basket bundle or something like that. And I set on my shelves forever. But it is so wonderful. And I remember doing it the first week of school, which, you know, sometimes the first week can be a struggle. And I'm just thinking like, God, thank you so much for bringing this into my life on this, you know, at this time, because I needed it and it was great. So I can definitely recommend this. This is one that we will continue doing. But I also bought this year God's Names. And this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time as well. And so I think there's like 26 maybe chapters in here. And so what I'm thinking what I'm going to do is, yeah, there's 26 chapters in here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to schedule this for one day a week. And then the other 3 days a week, we're going to do this. So we only do morning basket 4 days a week. That is because on the 5th day, my husband is usually home and him and my son will go out and they do like outdoor stuff. Or because we go to co-op and whenever we're in co-op season, which is starting up pretty soon. So we do morning basket 4 days a week. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do this, like I said, one day and then the other one for 3 days until I might start incorporating other stuff because that's what I like to do. All right, next, read alouds. Okay. I'm not sure I've ever cried as much as I've cried during this read aloud. It's Christian Heroes Then and Now. This is the Lillian Trasher. I chose this because I was thinking, and it doesn't really actually make sense now that I think about it, but because my son and I are doing ancient studies, which does so much of Egypt, I thought, well, I'm gonna do this because of Egypt, even though this is like, you know, 1900s. But it is excellent. I cannot say enough about it. I cry and then I cry some more and then I cry some more, but it is worth every tear and it is a wonderful, wonderful book. My kids love it. I love it. Highly suggest this one. And it's called The Greatest Wonder in Egypt, and just kind of a little bit of backstory, just so you know. Lillian is called to, unexpectedly, is called to go be a missionary in Egypt and ends up opening the first orphanage of Egypt, because at that time they didn't have them. And it's a must read. I loved it. Okay, some other things that we read. Now, these other things actually I don't read aloud. We do audiobooks. And this is Land of Stories, but we also have the books because my daughter loves these stories. So we went through Land of Stories 1 and 2, which again, I'm always leery to tell people like books that I'm not sure if they will fit their, I mean, some people are very strict on things that they read, some Christian families are, and then some are a little bit loose. This one does talk about fairy tales, right? It talks about fairy tales, and of course in fairy tales there's magic and all that type of stuff. It's not hocus pocus magic. So Chris Colfer is I think I'm pronouncing that right, is the author, and he did a fabulous job of bringing the fairy tales that we all grew up with, bringing those back to life in a different way, and it is amazing. This is the Big Narnia, and I just grabbed this, but again, we did it through audiobook, was The Magician's Nephew. So the first book, if you're going like chronologically on storyline. And so we listened to The Magician's Nephew, which is actually pretty short, but we just did that. So that was all of August. But for September, we're going to read The Boy of the Pyramids. It shouldn't take very long to get through. It's a pretty easy read and pretty quick. So I'm gonna probably pick something else back up. I still need to get Nate Saint, which is a Christians Now and Then that has to do with South America, since we're going over South America for geography. And so I was literally in town the other day, and I meant to go to Mardell's to pick one up, but I might just have to order it on Amazon. So that will probably be the other one we do. And then we've already started book 3 as well, listening to that of Land of Stories on audiobook. Again, I think they're wonderful, but do your own due diligence and research and see if you think it's appropriate for your family. I would hate for you to buy something and then read it and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, she reads all this. Because I know different families do different stuff, and that's okay. So that's August and September's read alouds. Next, I'm going to talk about, just because I want to get out of the way real quick, I'm going to talk about games and trivia. I'm going to do nature study last, just because it's kind of the bigger one. And I think I've shown this I showed this before, so it's kind of not new. But we have been going through this family Bible quiz book and love it. Again, I think I got this in that bundle off of Master Books. I'm not sure. This was probably 4 or 5 years ago. So you still might be able to find it. I don't know if they still have it. We also use about Bible trivia cards that I got at Mardell's. And I'm looking at it and I didn't grab it, so I apologize. But those are fun. So we do like this on one day. We do those on one day. We do... and then we do this 1 or 2 days. And this is, if you can see, Professor Noggins into life in the ocean. The reason why we did the ocean in August was because my son and I we're going over coral reefs. And so even though not everything on here has to do with coral reefs, my kids just like doing these, so we just do them. So this is how we do it. We take 3 cards. So let's say, like, this is about hammerheads, this is about hermit crabs, and this is about jellyfish, right? And so each of us take a card. I let them choose. I don't, whatever. And then usually my daughter prefers to read first. So she'll read both the student and the scholar. And then we'll answer them. And, and then sometimes we learn stuff. Sometimes we already know the answers. And then we'll go to the next. And my son will read his, which is excellent because remember, he is pretty much on his last year of All About Reading, so which is a phonics program. And so just getting that extra bit of reading. And I told him he didn't have to, but he wants to. So that's awesome. And then I'll read mine, and then that's the gist of it. We just read it, and there's usually 6 questions, and we'll read all 6 questions and see if we know the answers. So that's really fun. So for September, we're putting this away, and we're gonna pick up this one, which is Countries of the World. We did start like the last week of August, and we're gonna do Countries of the World again. We're doing South America, so it's not gonna, and obviously it's gonna be all over the world, but it's still fun. It's just still something fun that we do together and we enjoy. So we'll do that. And of course, we'll continue with this trivia and then the Bible trivia cards. One game that we played that's new to us that we really, really enjoyed that I wanted to share with y'all is Ecosystems Coral Reef. If you've ever seen, it's by Genius Games, and it's similar to, I think it's just called Ecosystems. It's similar to that. Yeah, if you've ever seen that game, Ecosystems. At first, you're kind of like, So we watched a few YouTube videos, but once you get in it, you play a few rounds, you kind of figure it out. It's fun. We've all 3 played, and we've all 3 won. Like, she's won 1, I won 1, my son's won 1. There's definitely logic to the game, and it is, I think it says it's 8 and up. Yeah, it's for ages 8 and up, and I would definitely say probably 8 and up, unless you have a child that's really into this type of thing. So poetry is something else that we do every day. Part of my daughter's literature is her reading this child's anthology of poetry. And so she reads to us. She reads it to us. And sometimes we do one, sometimes we do 2. She really enjoys it. And some of the poems are really good. Some of them are, but this is what we do every day for sure. But I like to bring in other stuff as well. So like this is called Silver People, Voices of the Panama Canal. I haven't figured out yet if these are actual people or maybe just stories in the author put into poem. But like the first one talks about Mateo, who is on the island of Cuba and how he makes his journey to Panama because they know that they're building this big canal and he just wants to get away from Cuba. And then as well as it has poetry from like the perspective of a butterfly in a destroyed rainforest, it also talks about it from that perspective as well. But so I'll probably pick and choose from here which ones we want to do. Obviously it's a very large book, so I won't read all of these, but I will pick out some that will fit. Another one that is fun, and I got this from the library because I tell y'all to do this. I got this from the library because I was thinking about ordering it, online, and I found it on reduced price. And I was like, okay, do I really want it? Do I really want it? And I think I do. I just haven't gone back and ordered it yet. But it's The World Full of Nature Stories, 50 Folk Tales and Legends. And that's what it is. It's nature stories and lore, like nature lore and folk tales from around the world. And so they do have stuff for South America. Again, they're not going to necessarily have every South American country that we're going over. And as you can tell, I kind of like to coordinate with the geography. But like here, Magic, South America, a story from Peru, the magic fruit. And I read through this one, and this one is more, it's kind of like a life lesson. So it's kind of neat. So it'd be neat. I think it's going to be fun to read through these. And then like the ones that do have life lessons, to discuss those. So I'm very excited about this, and I'm probably going to purchase this as well, since it has literally countries from every continent. So for geography, we're starting with Panama. I totally messed up. So I had it made where I could have done one country per week and been able to go through all the South American countries, Central America, Caribbean, I'm looking at my map over here, and do Antarctica as well, and maybe even have a couple of weeks left over. And for some reason in my brain, I had it that I had to do 2 a week. So we did Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Nicaragua, Costa Rica. Although we did Costa Rica 1 week once I figured it out. And then of course we're spending at least 1 week on Panama, because there's so much history and so much to there's so much history in all of them. But I do want to discuss like the Panama Canal a lot, especially since that was the United States had a big part in that. I'm going to go over what is a isthmus. I think I'm saying that right, which is a landform. Of course, I don't have it right here with me. It's down below, right? But it's a landform. It's a type of landform, and that is in Panama is one of the few isthmus, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the world. And so we're going to talk about that and maybe even have like some type of art project with it. But I like to, if I can find stories that are picture books, I like to do that. This one is, this is Panama, a migration story. It's obviously about migration, and so my daughter is going to love this. And it's about the different animals that migrate. And it's kind of a longer one, so what I think is I will probably not do a read aloud one day from like The Boy of the Pyramids, and this will probably be the read aloud that day, just because it is a longer picture book. And then just to kind of give you an idea, I usually get books like this, and then I have a whole set right here of other books that I'll go through, and I just go to the pages that might talk about Panama, and then I'll utilize those as well throughout the week for the discussion. And I utilize like documentaries. I discussed all of that on a whole video on how I teach geography. So look for that video as well. It's already out. I think I put it out a couple weeks ago. Next, let's talk about nature studies. So we've done, like I said, 2 days of nature study. We've never done these phonology wheels, I think is how you pronounce it. We've never done them before, and there are different types, just FYI. But I wanted to go ahead and try one. And what it is, in my opinion, this is kind of like layman's terms, is you have, like I have January starts here and it goes all the months of the year. And so you kind of have like the different seasons and how the colors change based on what you think that color represents. Like, you know, June is really bright and sunny, and then it starts getting really hot. So we go into orange, and then even harder. So I go into a darker orange, and then red, because the leaves are starting to change colors and all that, etc. And then what we're going to do is, we're going to have to backtrack on August, but we'll go in like for August, and we'll determine each of us, and it can be different. So it's whatever your kids decide. We'll go in and we will draw something that we think represents that month. So like for August, and it's been so hot, I'm thinking about doing it like a blistering hot sun with like cracks in the ground, because that represents our August right now. But then September, we'll do something different, etc., etc. Look them up if you are interested. They're really fun. I found this just a free download online. I literally type in free download for phonology wheel, and you'll have tons of blogs and stuff pop up and give you good examples. So we did that. We went over, even though we discuss a lot of nature stuff as a group, we don't always get to do nature study. My daughter doesn't always get to partake in nature study because, again, she's in 10th grade and has a pretty full day. So if it's something that we did, her and I together, when she was younger, then I won't necessarily make her do it again. But we went over the life cycle of a blue morpho butterfly because we were going over Costa Rica, and these are found in Costa Rica. And so this is mine and my son's life cycle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue using this size paper for when we do nature study, and I'm going to create like a nature study notebook to keep for, years to come. Okay, so that was August. So for September, we are going to do the autumn equinox, which is, just so you know, if you want to mark your calendar, that's whenever, we transition over into fall or autumn. And that starts on this year is on September, I wrote it down, September 23rd. And so I got this book to read, but I will still read this I'll still read this during morning basket, even if she doesn't do something with this. But normally we have enough time for her. It was just that day, him and I had a lot of extra time and she didn't. So that's why we did that separate. But this is We Gather Together Celebrating the Harvest Season. And it does talk about the transition to autumn and all of that. So I'm going to talk about that. And you can see it right there, the fall equinox. So we will go over that. We're also going to go over the harvest moon, which is on the 29th. Yes, the harvest moon this year is on the 29th. And so this is just a cute little book that I'm going to read aloud. And then we'll do some type of probably maybe chalk pastel to represent the harvest moon. And that's another way I like to kind of get art and nature study together. It's kind of like a cross curricular. So that's one way to do that. So I also plan on reading this, which is Goodbye Summer, Hello Autumn. And again, this is for younger kids, but my 14-year-old still likes it, and it's a beautiful book. And I get all this from the library, FYI. All of this came from the library. I also want to go over the reasons for the seasons to kind of talk about the equinox. So I will read this probably, it's a Gail Gibbons book. You know, I love Gail Gibbons. This actually is not, this is my book, I think. Yeah. This is actually one I got at a library sale for like probably $1. And so we'll talk about that. And then we will do Seeds Move and Acorn, which I got at the library. And this is my book. And so we're going to do a nature study on seeds and acorns. And I haven't really decided if I'm going to do much with that. Sometimes nature study is me reading and then us just journaling something in our nature notebook. And then sometimes it is making a big display of something. So I haven't decided yet on what we're going to do for that. But I think if I do, it'll probably be more for acorn. All right, some other books that will help me with that is this More Fun with Nature book. This is it has actually like, I think 3 or 4 of those books in one. It's a hardback. You can see that it's a little bit thicker. And so like this talks about planting a seed garden. There is a page on acorns. So I will use this. Okay, so I also like to use this Exploring Nature with Children. In the past, I used it weekly. Like I went week by week. I'd kind of alter it just because Texas is kind of a little bit different on, because of seasons. But I now use it kind of as a guide to kind of get ideas of what I want to do. And if there's, it's full of great information. And so if I can't find something in like the stuff that I have, then I'll go to this and get information as well. So I will use that if needed. And then also, sometimes they have poems and stuff like that that kind of relate to whatever the topic area is. So I think that's really cool. But I wanted to share with y'all some other fall nature study ideas. So acorns, like I talked about, squirrels, apples, pumpkins, leaves, like changing colors, pheasants or turkeys. I think I'm actually gonna do a pheasant maybe in November. Of course, the autumn equinox, the harvest moon, September 29th. You could do some type of tree study, like specific tree, like maybe an oak tree. You could do anything on moss or like lichen, fungi, colors of fall, bats, nocturnal animals. Those are all really good things you can do for fall nature study. You also can do fun nature scavenger hunts. You can make your own, or there's tons of them online that other mamas share. Leaf rubbings, of course, going on nature hikes, and then like maybe a corn maze field trip or something like that would be fun. So those are just some ideas that you could do for nature study this fall. The last thing I'm going to share with you is what I'm reading, which has nothing to do with this, but I'm gonna share it anyways. I'm reading Gladys Hunt, Honey for a Teen's Heart. I did see this on Rooted in Rest, and I didn't even know it existed. And that is one thing as a Christian mom that I do struggle with, is finding books that are appropriate. And so what's really nice about this is, of course, there's book lists, but if you read the first couple of chapters, this book to me is so much more than just book list. And it's a great resource. So I highly suggest you get this from the library or purchase it for yourself for your bookshelf. Another book, and I barely inched my way through this. It seems like I just don't have time. But Habits of the Household, I heard somebody talking about it, I think on maybe in a group or something, like a Facebook group. And so I was like, I'm gonna have to go look that up. And it's practicing the story of God in everyday family rhythms. It is obviously a Christian perspective. It's written by a dad who kind of had a come to Jesus moment and did some things to change, and it just was, my gosh, there's like a little windstorm tornado thing outside. Okay, sorry, that was like, we live here on a property, and so in my front field, I just saw like all these, I couldn't figure out what it was, but it was all these like just debris and wind or debris and leaves, and it was like little tornado thing flying through. Okay, anyways, but so far this book is great. And so I started reading it and I wasn't highlighting, and then I was like, I've got to highlight, so I went back through and I started over, which is why I'm not further. And I just started rereading again the first couple of chapters and then highlighting specific points. So I definitely think this, so far, I'll talk about it more next month, but so far this is an excellent book, and I just need to make sure I am reading every night. One thing I did change that is helping me sleep is at 8 o'clock, lights go out, and I don't touch my phone if I can help it. My husband works out of town, so of course I might talk, but not like scroll or anything like that. And even though we might watch TV, TV goes off at 9 or 8:30. And then if I want to do anything, then I try to get a light that's not the bright blue light, and I read, and y'all might already know that, but that's helping me just get ready for bed and sleep better at night. So I don't know if maybe someone needed to hear that. I don't know. Anyways, okay. For art, I didn't talk about this, but for art, I've already told y'all this like on 3 different videos. We are utilizing this. If I can't find something that represents that country, that I can pull something up like in a book, then I will pull something up on a laptop. And the same applies with music. So like we listened to El Salvadorian music the other day, and the kids really liked it. So we listened to that and just kind of got an idea for like popular Salvadorian, not like pop culture, but like popular, like stood the test of time, popular music that's been around using instruments and stuff. And they thought it was really neat. So, okay, that is it. That is what we do for Morning Basket. That's what we did for August, what we did for September. Come back again if you haven't already. Like this video, please do. It just gets it out to more mamas. Also, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. So every month I probably won't recap the previous month, or maybe I'll just recap like highlights of things that we really, really enjoyed. And then I'll go into what we did. So most of them shouldn't be as long as it is this month for months to come. So I hope you have a super blessed day and a super blessed week, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.